Ever wondered if genius and gaffes share a fuse? Strap in for Darwin Awards, Mad Inventors Mayhem, Episode 2. We're spotlighting 10 Tinkerer tragedies: Bogdanov's septic blood swap, Curie's radium roast, Pereios' bullish bake-off, an Indian drone, dropout's blade, blunder, Johari's winged wipeout, Abacovsky's headless rail rush, Andrews's icy Titanic dip, Howard's cyanide whiff, Daker's fiery flyby, and John's neck yank nightmare. From eureka to uh-oh, these ego explosions prove innovation's a tightrope. Laugh, learn, lock the lab, hit play, subscribe, and share your wild what not to build. Safety wins or Darwin grins. Number 1. Step into the shadowy labs of Soviet Moscow, 1920s edition, where Alexander Bogdanov, real name Alexander Malinovsky, born 1873 in a sleepy Russian village, is busy reinventing himself as the ultimate Renaissance reject. Picture a guy who's part philosopher, penning sci-fi utopias like Red Star, where Martians sip socialist cocktails, part revolutionary, Bolshevik bigwig who rubbed elbows with Lenin before getting the boot for being too faction-y, and now, in his twilight years, a full-blown mad scientist chasing eternal youth like it's the last train to immortality. At 53, with crow's feet deepening faster than the Volga, Bogdanov founds the Institute for Blood Transfusion in 1925, convinced that swapping crimson cocktails could reboot the human odometer. Why? Because in his fevered brain, blood's the ultimate elixir. Rejuvenate the old with the young, and boom, you're frolicking forever. He kicks off with self-experiments, transfusing his own veins with a 15-year-old kid's plasma first. Ethical oversight, what's that? Claiming it sharpened his eyesight like a hawk on espresso. By 1928, he's up to 11 swaps, guzzling smokes and books with renewed vigor, bragging to comrades about outliving the czars. But hubris has a half-life, and on his 12th go-round in March, Bogdanov picks a donor, a strapping student named Arnold, who's apparently a walking petri dish of malaria and tuberculosis, diseases that make under the weather sound like a spa day. The transfusion hums along in the Institute's sterile glow, Bogdanov chatting philosophy mid-drip until 3 hours later. Chills, fever, organ meltdown. He spirals into hemolytic shock, kidneys failing like a Lada in a blizzard. And by April 7th, the pioneer of plasma parties checks out at 54. In a twist worthy of his own novels, Bogdanov reportedly quips from his deathbed, "This proves my theory. Death is just another transfusion." Sarcasm station. Ah, yes, because nothing screams scientific breakthrough like playing vampire roulette. With a plague carrier, Bogdanov's bloody folly birthed modern transfusion tech. Thanks for the irony, Alex. But his gene pool, goodbye, and whispers, if you're DIYing youth, maybe stick to kale smoothies. The Soviets buried him with honors, but let's be real. His real legacy? A reminder that some experiments belong in fiction. Number 2. Fast forward, or rather rewind, to late 19th century Paris, where Maria Salomea Skłodowska, aka Marie Curie, born 1867 in Warsaw under Russian boot, flees to the city of light with dreams bigger than her battered suitcase. A pint-sized powerhouse at 4 feet 11 inches, she crashes the Boys' Club of Science, teeming with hubby Pierre, whom she meets over shared lab benches and mutual geekery, to chase the invisible fireflies of radioactivity. By 1898, they're isolating polonium and radium from tons of pitch splendor in a leaky shed. Think backyard barbecue, but with glowing rocks instead of burgers. Marie's the muscle, hauling wheelbarrows of sludge, boiling vats barehanded because who needs gloves when you're making history? 2 Nobels later, physics 1903, chemistry 1911, the first double dipper, and the only woman to snag 2 in science. She's the queen of the atom, powering X-rays for WWI wounded and inspiring a generation of skirt-wearing scholars. But here's the cosmic joke. Radiation's a sneaky house guest. Marie treats radium like a cuddly kitten, carrying samples in her pocket. It warms her dress like a toasty hand warmer. Licking test tubes for purity, old school lab hack, and stashing notebooks in bedside drawers. Fast forward to 1934. At 66, in her sanatorium bed overlooking the Alps, Marie's unraveling from a plastic anemia, bone marrow zapped to zilch, blood cells AWOL, body a battlefield of bruises and fatigue. The stuff she pioneered, it's fried her from the inside. Years of alpha particles turning cells to confetti. She slips away on July 4th, whispering farewells in French, buried in a lead-lined coffin because her corpse still ticks like a Geiger counter at a rave. Those famous notebooks? Still too hot to handle without tongs, glowing faintly under museum glass. Sarcastic spotlight. Bravo, Marie! Discover the atom's dark side, then pocket it like loose change. Her harmless rays legacy? Saved millions with medical tech, but claimed her ticker early, proving brilliance burns bright and bone deep. If you're glowing up your career, maybe pack the hazmat suit. The world mourned a trailblazer, but whispers linger. Even icons can't outrun their own sparks. Number 3. Beam back to ancient Sicily, circa 570 BC, where Phalaris, the tin pot tyrant of Acragas, modern Agrigento, rules with a flair for the theatrical. Think Nero with a toga. And trust issues enter Pereios of Athens, a bronze smithing savant with a flair for the macabre, strutting into the palace like he's pitching the next big thing on Shark Tank. Bronze Age edition, O mighty Phalaris, he booms, unveiling his masterpiece, the Brazen Bull, a life-sized hollow cow forged from gleaming brass, complete with a door in its belly and flues in its nostrils. The pitch? Shove enemies inside, light a bonfire underneath, and as they roast alive, their agonized howls pipe through the pipes like a demonic bagpipe symphony. Torture as avant-garde art. Phalaris, eyes lighting up like a kid in a candy coliseum, strokes his beard. Brilliant, but does it work? Pereios, ever the eager beaver, puffs his chest. Watch this, boss. I'll hop in for a quick sizzle to prove the acoustics. Door clangs shut. Flames lick up. And soon, the bull's belching smoke and screams that echo off the temple hills, like a Greek chorus gone rogue. The crowd gathers. Phalaris smirks, then flips the script. As guards yank the sizzling smith from the hatch, blistered and bellowing, the tyrant quips, per legend, your bull sings beautifully. Now you get the encore. Pereios begs for mercy, but nope. Back in he goes, fully fired this time. His finale a full-throated aria of regret. Phalaris? He rolls the bull out for dissidence, but karma's a slow roast. Overthrown in 554 BC, he ends up bull burgers himself, per some accounts the device's fate. Melted down or lost to time, but the tale endures in Diodorus Siculus's scrolls, a cautionary comedy of cruel craftsmanship. Sarcasm supreme. Invent a scream synthesizer for a sadist supreme, then volunteer as tribute. Peak Pereios, proving that in Tyrant's Court, the hottest seat's the one you built. His brass blunder birthed no bull market in ethics, but hey, it tuned history's horror playlist. Moral for makers. Pitch with props, not your person, unless you fancy being the beta test. Number 4. Zoom to 2023 in the bustling backlots of rural India, where innovation meets improvisation in a tale straight from a low-budget blockbuster gone wrong. Meet our unnamed hero, a college dropout turned garage Da Vinci, hailing from a dusty village where dreams outpace rupees. Tired of pricey choppers ferrying the elite while farmers foot it, he rolls up his sleeves and scavenges a scrapyard to birth the people's hele. A low-cost whirlybird hacked from bicycle frames, scooter engines, and PVC pipes, aiming for affordability under 50,000 bucks. Picture it: a skeletal frame with duct-taped rotors, a lawnmower blade as the tail, and enough exposed wiring to light a Diwali display. Neighbors buzz, pun intended, as he toils nights, welding sparks flying like fireflies on steroids, convinced this Frankenflyer will revolutionize rural rides. Airlifts for harvests, medevacs for monsoons, the works. Test day dawns, a cleared field, a crowd of curious aunties and uncles. Our tinkerer straps in, sort of, seatbelts optional, revs the rig, and lifts off-ish. The beast bucks like a caffeinated bull, rotors spinning to a frantic whine, hovering a shaky 3 feet before whir crunch. A rogue blade kisses his scalp in a grisly guillotine greet, slicing clean through in a fountain of folly. He crumples, crowd scatters and screams, but the village docks too far. Bled out en route, his dream machine idling innocently amid the dust. Reddit rips it viral. DIY drone copter dropout meets his match, with shaky phone vids capturing the chaos. No name in headlines, family's privacy plea, but the story sticks like glue gun residue, a stark snapshot of scrappy spirit clashing with safety shortcuts. Sarcastic salute. Weld a whirlwind from wheelie bin wonders to democratize the skies. Then let it play barber on your noggin. That's not innovation. That's a haircut from hell. His half-baked birdie boosted no budgets, but boosted warnings worldwide. Prototype with padding, pals, or Darwin's got your duct tape. In India's maker boom, his buzz cut end buzzes. Ambition soars, but sand specks. It slices short. Number 5. Whisk to 10th century Nishapur, Persia, now Iran, where Abu Nasr Ismail ibn Hamad al-Johari, born around 860 in Farab, Turkic roots running deep, reigns as the era's linguistic lion. A globe-trotting grammarian, he pens the magnum opus, the crown of Arabic language, a 4-volume vocab vault that dictionaries still dip into, all while jet-setting from Baghdad courts to Samanid salons, tutoring caliphs and charming khans with his silver tongue. But words weren't enough. By 1003 at 70-something, al-Johari's got aviary aspirations. Inspired perhaps by Abbas ibn Firnas's earlier glider giggles, or just a midlife molt. Eloquence is flight of the mind, he muses, then MacGyver's wooden wings, feathered with real bird plumes, strapped to his scholarly shoulders like a feathery backpack for the faithful, the stage. A towering minaret of Nishapur's Friday Mosque, minaret meaning lighthouse in Arabic. Ironic, since he's about to light up the skyline the hard way. To wow the worshippers, or the caliph's envoy, per whispers. He perches at the apex, robes flapping like failed foils. Crowd below, murmuring prayers mixed with popcorn crunch bets. Watch the sage become the sparrow, he cries, leaps, and for a heartbeat he hangs, a human hawk gliding glory. Then physics pipes up. Wings warp under weight, feathers flutter free like confetti at a flop. And down he spirals in a pinwheel of panic, splatting on the plaza stones like a scholarly egg drop gone splat. Mosque goers gasp, scholars scatter scrolls. Al-Johari's ink runs red, his crown, unfinished, legacy leaping from lexicons to leapfrogs of legend. Some say madness fueled the flight, delusions of dawdling as a dove, but history hums. A polymath's plunge, proving pens beat parachutes. Sarcasm sky high. Compile the world's word hoard, then play Icarus with ibis icing. That's not elevation, that's ouch. Al-Johari's minaret mishap minted aviation's ancient asterisk, but his turf tumble tweets, "Grounded genius grounds us all. If you're winging it with wisdom, clip the quills. Earth's got better traction." Number 6. Picture the dusty dawn of Soviet innovation. In 1921 Moscow, where 25-year-old Valerian Abacovsky, Latvian-born firebrand, son of a tailor and fresh-faced Bolshevik engineer, is buzzing like a bee in a commissar's teacup. Fresh off the October Revolution's high, he's hobnobbing with Lenin-era elites, designing armored cars for the Red Army. Abacovsky's got a wild hair. Why chug along at snail's pace on Russia's rickety rails when you could rocket diplomats across the motherland like ICBMs on tracks? Enter the Aero Wagon, his brainchild unveiled in July 1921. A sleek silver Ford Model T chassis strapped to a Fiat airplane engine, topped with an aluminum body for 6 VIPs, and clocking a blistering 140 kilometers per hour, 87 miles per hour. No steam whistles or coal shovels here, just aviation grunt propelling a courier special for party bigwigs, zipping secrets from Moscow to Tula and back faster than a samovar boils. Abacovsky, ever the showman, loads it with 6 passengers, including 5 fancy-pants diplomats fresh from a Comintern shindig, and himself at the helm. Outbound to Tula, smooth as Stalin's mustache. 110 miles in under an hour, wind whipping through open windows, comrades toasting with thermos tea to the future of fast travel, high fives all around. The press gushes about revolutionary rapidity. But return trips are where karma catches the caboose. August 24th, 1921, near Serpukhov Station, 60 miles south of Moscow. The Aero Wagon thunders along at full throttle, engine roaring like a liberated surf. When, perhaps a loose rail, overzealous speed, or just physics flipping the bird, the contraption jumps the tracks like a startled hare. It cartwheels in a metallic tornado, shearing through the undercarriage and decapitating Abacovsky clean at the neck. His head tumbling like a forgotten bowling ball. The diplomats? 5 more casualties in the chaos, bodies mangled amid twisted tin. Only one survivor crawls out to tell the tale. The wreckage? Scrapped, the dream derailed before blueprints could blueprint a fleet sarcasm alert. Bolt a bird's power to iron rails for Elite Express, then yeeted off the tracks with a full house of envoys. That's not progress. That's a party pooper on steroids. Abacovsky's high-speed headache birthed no bullet trains. Soviet rails stuck to slower schleps. But his guillotine glide whispers. Even Reds can't outrun rusty infrastructure. If you're fusing flights with freight, pack a parachute. Darwin's got the express lane reserved. Number 7. Belfast, 1873. Enter Thomas Andrews Jr., scion of the shipbuilding dynasty, son of a flax merchant turned ironclad kingpin, nephew to Harland and Wolff's founders, and a boy who doodled hulls before he could spell hydrodynamics. By 39, he's the firm's head designer, a soft-spoken Protestant with a mustache like a well-trimmed hedge and a knack for turning tonnage into triumphs. Tasked with the White Star Line's Olympic-class liners, Andrews blueprints the RMS Titanic in 1907-11. 46,328 gross tons, 882 feet of opulent ocean real estate, with 16 watertight compartments billed as the ultimate bubble wrap against bergs. Practically unsinkable, he confides to pals, though privately, he pencils in more lifeboats than regs demand. Ignored, of course. April 10th, 1912. Andrews boards his brainchild in Southampton, bound for New York, with 2,208 souls, including tycoons, emigrants, and that pesky iceberg itinerary. He's everywhere, fiddling fittings, charming steerage with sketches, even romping with stokers in the boiler rooms like a kid in a candy coliseum. Midnight, April 14th. The Unsinkable grazes a North Atlantic nibble at 21 knots, ripping a 300-foot gash below the waterline. Alarms blare. Andrews assesses in the flooding forward holds, face ashen. She's done! No panic from this pro. He herds passengers to boats, only 20 launched, half empty, resets clocks and empty lounges, priorities, and urges stragglers aboard with gentlemanly grit. By 2:05 a.m., April 15th, as the bow dips and lights flicker, Andrews vanishes, last spotted in the first-class smoking room, perhaps toasting his folly with a phantom cigar, or pacing the bridge in quiet defeat. The ship gulps 1,500 more to Davy Jones. Andrews joins via hypothermia in the 28-degree Fahrenheit brine, body lost to the Labrador current like so many blueprints in a bonfire. His widow, Helen, births a son months later. Harland and Wolff erects a memorial plaque on Olympic's sister ship. Ironic interlude. Design the floating palace with watertight walls that leak like a sieve, then go down with the deck chairs. Andrews's aquatic adieu drowning in his own draft, spurred safety seas change. More boats, berg patrols, the works. But let's chuckle darkly. Unsinkable, my anchor. Next time, add wings, Tom. The Atlantic's got room for one more dreamer in its depths. Number 8. Down Under in New Zealand's Workshop Wilds, September 3rd, 2018. Howard Miller, 39, burly gunsmith extraordinaire and self-proclaimed wacky welder, is elbow deep in his dream gig, transforming rusty rifles into blinged-out beauties for the black powder crowd. Picture a bloke with calluses like tree bark, a beard that could hide a badger, and a garage lab stacked with anvils, acetylene torches, and enough gun oil to slick a slip-and-slide Howard specialty. Gold-plating firearms for that Midas touch swagger. Think ornate revolvers gleaming like pirate doubloons, fetching top dollar at gun shows. But shortcuts are the spice of his trade. Why bother with fancy electroplating baths when you can whip up a quick dip solution? Enter cyanide, the Cinderella of chemicals. Dissolve a pinch in water with gold salts, dunk the barrel, and voila, instant shine. High school chem flashback. Don't inhale the fumes, mate. It's hydrogen cyanide, deadlier than a dingo's bite. Howard yawns. He's got a deadline, a demo gun for a client, and zero PPE beyond a half mask that's seen better days. In his cluttered shed, he mixes the brew, glug glug, stir stir, wafting a whiff of almonds, cyanide's cheeky calling card, that tickles his nose like forbidden perfume. Smells like victory, he mutters, leaning in for a deeper sniff to check potency. Big mistake. Huge. The vapors hit like a ninja star to the neurons. Instant headache, dizziness, then collapse. Howard slumps amid sparks and swarf, convulsing as cells starve for oxygen in a toxic tango. His mate, popping by for beers, finds him blue-lipped and bubbling, dials 000 in a frenzy, paramedics pump antidotes. But it's game over. Cyanide's coup de grace claims him en route, turning a plating pro into a plating postscript, the coroner. Accidental, but Darwin? Gold star. Sarcastic slow clap. Sniff your shortcut serum for that pro-tip aroma? That's not welding wizardry. It's a whiff of whimsy to the ward. Howard's hazy huff birthed no breakthroughs. Gold guns still gild fools. But his shed saga screams, chem basics aren't optional. Inhale at your peril. Mates mourn with a toast to Howard, shiny on the outside, snuffed from within. If you're plating for profit, pass the snorkel. Number 9. Brighton, UK, 1956 born. Michael Robert Daker, ex-RAF pilot turned aviation alchemist, with a knack for turning what if into winged wonders. By 2009, at 53, he's the brains behind Avcen Ludtreted, pedaling the jetpod. A ducted fan flying taxi, promising puddle jumpers from London to Paris in 45 minutes, sans runways for peanuts. Imagine a stubby silver bullet, twin engines slurping air like a Dyson on steroids, designed for VIP hops over traffic snarls. But prototypes need proving, and Daker's no desk jockey. He straps in for the shakedown flights, chasing funding from Aussie investors who fancy fast ferries down under. August 16th, 2009. Tekka Airstrip, Johor, Malaysia, humid haze, palm fringes, and a freshly welded jetpod gleaming under the equatorial sun. Daker, in flight suit and focus mode, climbs aboard the solo rig for a low-level loop. Taxi, takeoff, climb to 400 feet, circle, land. Ground crew waves, engines whine to life, the pod lifts like a reluctant elevator. Seconds tick, smooth ascent, then crackle. A fuel line glitch or fan flutter, inquest TBD, sends it into a nosedive spiral. Slamming scrubland in a fireball ballet. Daker, soul aboard, doesn't eject. Burns and blunt force claim him at the crater. 53 years young. Dreams dispersed in diesel smoke. Rescue choppers whirl in vain. The jetpod's jet black box whispers a mechanical mutiny. Avcen folds its wings. Investors scatter like startled cockatoos. The press, flying taxi inventor grounds himself. Ironic in-flight. Brew a bypass bird for billboard bucks. Wait, no, user's balloon bit? Nah, that's apocryphal. It's pure prop folly. Then plummet in your proof of concept? Daker's dive bomb debut. Fiery farewell over foreign fields. Sputters no sky cabs. Drones do it dirtier now. But his pod pop warns. Test flights tempt fate. Sarcasm skyward. Invent the urban Uber aviator. Solo the shakedown sans safety net. That's not elevation. It's elevouch eternal. Mates memorialize with model kits. The tarmac toasts to Mike. Higher hopes, lower landings. If you're winging whims, wingman up. Gravity's got no grace period. Number 10. Rural UK, October 2007. John, 71. Retired handyman extraordinaire, think Ron Swanson with a tool belt and a twinkle for his bride of 50 years, neck pains plaguing his missus. Pinched nerves from gardening gaffes, stiff as a starched collar. Docs prescribing pills, she dodges like dodgy weather. John, ever the fixer-upper, scoffs at specialists. Piffle! I'll cobble a contraption medieval monks would envy. Raiding shed for scraps, sturdy oak beam, hemp ropes, thick as wrists, pulleys from the garage rafters. He rigs a traction tower. Wife lies supine, chin harnessed in a padded loop, ropes ratcheted over a door frame beam to yank her noggin skyward like a stubborn weed. Tension? Tunable via counterweights, old dumbbells, promising spinal stretch, sans surgery, demo day. Spousal skepticism softens as John tweaks the tension, winching her up an inch. Feels floaty love, victory lap calls. But John's no bystander's beta. Hold my specs, I'll test the torque myself. Straps in solo, loops the noose neath his grizzled jaw, hauls the ropes with gusto, click-clack. Up he goes, vertebrae popping like popcorn. a grin cracking wider than his creaky joints. "Spot on," he hollers, admiring the mirror's mock medieval mirage. But hubris hauls harder. A slip, a snag, or just gravity's grumpy grope. The beam buckles, ropes recoil, and John's hoist turns hangman neck snaps with a crack like thunder in a teacup. He dangles, done, a human piñata in his parlor. Wife, witnessing the whoopsie, shrieks for neighbors. Paramedics pronounce strangulation via self-suspension, vertebrae vetoed. Coroner, misadventure, Darwin, masterstroke. The rig? Dismantled in tears, John's legacy a cautionary knot. Sardonic stretch, craft a cervical catapult for Cricks, then audition as its crash dummy? That's not therapy, it's thy ropey gone terminal. John's jugular jiggle, snapped in his sanctum, spares no spines. Cairo's cheaper chum, but his parlor pendulums. DIY docs deliver Darwin doses. Kinfolk chuckle through sniffles. He always said he'd go out swinging. If you're yanking yokes, yield to Yolda experts. Ropes, rebel. And that's a wrap on our whirlwind of winged wipeouts, bloody blunders, and brass-bound blazes, folks. 10 more madcap makers who turned must-have invention into must-have autopsy. From Bogdanov's vain vampire vanity to John's jaw-dropping yank, these tinkerer tales prove the line between breakthrough and breakdown is thinner than a frayed rope. Their sparks lit real fires, safer transfusions, radium regs, even drone does and don'ts, but at the steepest price. A one-way ticket out of the gene pool. The takeaway? Dream big, but debug with buddies. Beta test beyond bravado. And remember, not every prototype needs a personal pilot. If Darwin's grinning, you're doing it wrong. Huge thanks for tuning in to this folly fiesta. Smash that, like if Abacovsky's rail rush had you gripping your seat, subscribe for the next batch of bench-wrecked wonders, and drop in comments. What's your genius gone goofy gadget? Stay curious, stay cautious, and keep those inventions earthbound. Until next time, don't build it till you blueprint the bailout. Cheers!